recorder, and we are recording. Good morning, good afternoon. Open up with a little number first, and then I got hopefully a good class for you today. So here we go. Ooh, I wasn't expecting that. All right, don't change the quarter in the last second there, I guess is the moral of the story. All right. I used to fake it there. And just in case you're wondering, the style that I used was called, what was that called? Rock and roll piano, and I accidentally put intro too. That's why I was surprised at the intro. And then I just used style setup number 10, vintage, if you have it. But if you just put the style setup 0 and turn up your drums, you'll get a similar effect. And then partway through, I use the drums. That's not the class today. However, today's class, folks, I'm going to actually spend a little time on teaching everyone how to save a preset or setup and then saving it on your instrument, or if you have one of these lovely devices. Now, I'm going to ask for a show of hands, but I can't tell if you're raising your hands, you non-video people. That was a hint. I have subtle hints every now and then. Like sometimes I'll say, you ought to buy an organ. I say that subtly. All right. Show of hands. Have you ever poked around on the instrument to find a setup that you're experimenting with sounds, and you find a sound that you don't like? End up doing it, and you go, it happens to all of us, right? Now, show of hands again. Have you ever did it and you did an experiment, and then you're coming along, and then you ran into something, you went, oh, that actually sounds pretty good to me. You ever have that? Yeah, it happens. The worst thing that can happen is when that happens, this is a lot of happens, isn't it? Is you push another preset, another button, and all of a sudden you lose it and you can't remember. The best way to get around that is to save it on a preset and to save it so that you can always get it back later on. Now, these instruments, both of the models, I said Fanfare or Journey, Inspire, or Rialto, because that's what's featured in today's class. However, this really applies Fanfare, Journey, Inspire, Rialto, Prestige, Legend, any organ that has presets, especially with a USB. So whatever you have, pay very close attention today, because I'm going to go through, and I know we've done this in some of the classes in the past, but there's a slightly different method on both, but there's something you have in common, and I'm going to screen share some things. So the first thing is find a setup that you like, and sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll start over here. Let me switch the camera for a second here, go over here, and let me angle it down just a little bit, and a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Is that You see the panel okay there? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply set up the organ. I'm not going to get too intricate here. I'm just going to find some settings, and we'll find a sound that we like. Now, where's the starting point? A lot of people ask, where do I start? There's many ways to do it. Sometimes I'll get a song set up. If it's a song that I want to play, I'll go to the song setup and I'll find it, see if it's in the list, and I'll use the song setup. Well, to start off with. Now, sometimes that's okay. I'm going to back up just a little bit here. I'll have to peek in like this once in a while. Okay, so sometimes what I'll do is I'll start off with a song setup. Sometimes I'll pick the rhythm that I think I'm going to use, and I'll use a style setup. Sometimes I'll use a category setup. So it doesn't really matter where you start, okay? What matters is when you start adjusting things and you find something you like, you want to save it instantly. So let's pick a style of music. Let's see, I did some rock and roll. How about something like, let's see here. Here's one, Smooth Foxtrot. Not going to even think too hard. First thing that I see that appeals to me. All right. So here is the Smooth Foxtrot style setup. This is what you normally get. Great. And you got to think about what song you're going to play with that, what have you. You know, a lot of people tend to play Begin to Begin with that. You can play anything you want. Whatever it is that you want to play. So, you know. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. So the thing is, okay, that's a nice setup, but I want to tweak it a little bit. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Now, this part is not the important part. The important part is what we do to save it. But I'm going to tell you what I'm doing along the way. So all I did is I start off with Smooth Foxtrot. I have style setup 0, and it gives me a clarinet there. And that's great. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the Orchestra Plus button. Okay? And while I'm doing this, I'm going to come over here as well, and I'll put the same style, Smooth Foxtrot. Of course, there it is. Style setup 0. That's not it. Vintage. Here we go. And so I'll try to do both on the same instrument at the same time. But when it comes to saving the setups, I'm going to go back and forth between the two instruments because I want to make sure that, so take very good notes because I'm going to refer to Fanfare and Journey, and I'm going to refer to Inspire and Rialto. Now basically, if you have a touchscreen model, so if you have something outside of the Fanfare, an Inspire or Rialto, like a Prestige Marquis, Symphony, Patriot, any of those models with a touchscreen, anything that I say about the Inspire Rialto is going to be the applicable steps, okay? So I put on Smooth Foxtrot, style setup. It gave me that pretty clarinet. What I did is I turned off the Orchestra Plus. What's the difference? Well, here's with it. Okay, here's without it. It's not so busy in this case. And I go, okay, well, that's nice. Here's something else I'll do. Sometimes I'll say, you know what? I don't want any left-hand sound. No chord sound. Now, I always remind people of this. Just because I turn off the chord sound on the lower keyboard here doesn't mean you don't play the chords. Okay? Everybody got that? Yes? And if you don't, please say so. This confuses people sometimes when I say that. I'll say turn off the chord sound. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Many people think they always have to have a chord sound on there. I don't always think that's the case. All right? Now here's the difference. Now you may not notice it. If you're in Florida, you may not hear that chord sound thousands of miles away. No, just kidding. But over the internet, it's harder to hear. Here's that same rhythm. Can you kind of hear that holding chord sound? Now let me turn it off and you see if you can hear. Pay very close attention. Here we go. You hear the difference? Now listen again. Did you kind of hear the chord holding? That most people refer to it as the hum sound. Okay, so now whether you do this or not, it's entirely up to you. That's not the point. I'm just doing things that I like to do in the moment here. So I picked the Smooth Foxtrot Style Setup 0. By the way, Style Setup 0 on the Fanfare and the Journey would be vintage on the Inspire and Rialto. Vintage Style Setup 0. Okay? If you have an A series model and you have a Smooth Foxtrot style, it would be just Rhythm Preset 0. There was a question that came up and it went away. What did the question say on the chat?
What is the button's name? Person has a marquee.
Okay, you're talking about turning off the lower? Person with the marquee?
Jeanette, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, if it's referring to the lower, let me switch camera views here real quick so I don't see my rear end. Okay, in the middle of the organ, on all the organs that have the tabs, there's a tab there that says lower tabs. If you turn that tab off, it'll completely silence the chord sound in the lower. Okay?
That's the right answer.
Okay. Now I got to remember which camera I'm on. I don't want to show my rear end. I did a concert yesterday in Mesa, and one of the gals there was doing it live on Facebook Live, and she had it recording the whole time. And before we started, and I was standing in front of her doing the setup, so all they saw was this for about 5 minutes. So on Facebook Live, you got a picture of my rear end for about 5 minutes. Anyway, so I turned off the lower. Now on the Journey and the Fanfare, over to the left here, it says lower, and you got flutes, ensemble, and more. So I just made sure there's nothing on there. All right. So there we go. This is the sound that I have. And I say to myself, you know what? That's enough button pushing. I kind of like it the way it sounds like that, right? Sounds okay? Yes? So this is the part where we have to save the preset. Now, let me pull up a screen share for you. And I'm going to do this two ways. I'm going to tell you how to do it on the Fanfare and the Journey, and then I'm going to tell you how to do it on the Inspire. So depending on a touchscreen model or Fanfare or Journey. Now, can we see this there? So you should be looking at screen here. Okay. So you should be looking at, right now it says customizing bank setups. Yes? Is it
Yes.
Okay. Now, so for Fanfare Journey owners, what you do is once you find a sound that you like or a setting that you like, you have to memorize it onto the instrument, onto the preset. And it says, memorizing, you want to press and release A. Okay? You see that in the screen there?
Yes.
So I'm going to push press, memorize, and then I'm going to press A. When you do that, you see my little mouse here? Let me see if I can do a little fancy shapes like, let's see here. Oops, no, wrong one. I didn't want to do that. Well, that's okay. So it says here, this is what happens oops, this shows up, and then when I press A, this will show up, memorizing 2, okay? And then you have to pick a number that you want to save it on. Let me show you in picture form here. So I push memorize A, and then I press a number from 1 through 8. Now, some people don't know this, but you can actually save it into what's called 0. 0 means it'll show up in the screen. It'll default to 0. So if you don't press a number, it'll say 0. Now, for the purpose of today's session, for ease, I'm going to say start by using a number, okay? Same function. So I press memorize A, then I have to press the number that I want to save it on. We'll just keep it simple, and I'm going to touch 1. Now, on the touchscreen models, you're going to do a very similar thing. Now, let me take in a little ride. I'm not going to change the screen there. Let's see if I can do this. I thought I had my camera set up right. Let's zoom in. Woo! No extra charge for the sound effects, guys. Woo! Can you see that screen okay? All right, I'll tell you what it says just in case. So I'm going to put the same setting here. I've got, okay, turn off the Orchestra Plus. Let's see, all right. So I got the same setting here. I'm going to push memorize A, and then 1. So that part is the same on both models, okay? Now I'm going to do it here, and I'm going to go back, okay? It gives me an option. Do I want to save this setup with a style or not? And do I want to save it with the way I have it transposed or not? Okay? Now, with style, this is very important to know. This is probably more important than the transpose, in my opinion. With style basically means it'll save how you have this style, this panel saved. Some people will actually save a setup, and they'll want this panel to be saved without a rhythm. So don't be too confused by this. With the style means it's going to save this panel. Now, right now, I have this panel set up with the smooth foxtrot. Okay? And I'm purposely using smooth foxtrot. So in this case, do I want to save with a style? Now, if you're not going to say anything, nod your head. You just go say yes. Because that's what I want to do. Because I want to save smooth foxtrot. I want to save the setting, how I have it saved. So I'm just going to touch with style. Now, I don't know if you could see it lit up there or not, but that button in the screen
You can see it a little bit.
okay, it's lit up there. And then it says, do I want to save it with transpose? This is important if you have a specific song that you play in a certain key all the time and you like it in that key, and that's, just that, okay? Most of the time I do not save it with transpose, okay? Because I can always go back and transpose. Here's another, I'd hate to use the word danger, a caution with transpose. I've done this before. I'll save a preset on the first one, and I'll save it with the transpose of B flat, and then the rest of the presets I do not. And I'll use my presets, and then I'll change the transpose as I go, and then I'll go back to number 1, and it defaults back to the original transpose, and it just kind of sounds funny. In fact, this happened to me yesterday when I was playing the concert. So that one is not, to me, as important unless you have a specific song that you want to play in a specific key. Now, here's the beauty of this. If you save 10 presets here, 10 setups, without a transpose, okay? And let's say you go back and you load those setups and you use them and you decide, I'm going to play it in the key of A on the organ. If you transpose it to the key of A and then you use the rest of the setups, it'll remain in that key anyway. So it's not going to be a terrible thing, okay? So that's why I say be very careful with that one, all right? Now, let me come over here for you fanfare and journey people. This one is going to be slightly different. All right. I don't know if you could see the screen there.
We can.
All right. And I have an owner's manual too, but I like it here if you can see it. All right. So let me turn off the screen here. So I'm going to push memorize A, and I'm going to push 1. Now, if you may see it here, it'll change to 1. Okay. If you have a fanfare journey and you cannot see that, it'll say memorizing to setup number, and then there'll be a number that you pressed. Okay. And then it says style and transpose. Now, let me give you the screen. Okay. So, you see this here. Oops, that's a bad circle. Okay, sorry. All right. You get the point, right? This part here, this is the step I'm on. So right here, it says style, no, transpose, no, and you'll see these 2 arrows. This is the step that many people with fanfares and journeys, they miss, or maybe they don't understand it. It says no, so if I go to the next step, it'll save that setup, but it won't save the rhythm. But in this case, we want to save the style. So this arrow is telling me that if I want to save the style, click the arrow down on the scroll button. Okay, now let me go back to the screen here. See the scroll button here? So it says if I want to save the style, scroll down 1. Now, tell me if you can see it change to the word yes when I do it. Or actually it says with.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if I push the down arrow again, because the only way to affect that is the down arrow, it goes back to no. With no. On the screen, on the organ with the screen, you just turn the style button off. You just touch it again. So same concept, just a slightly different way of approaching it. Okay? Now, if I want to save the transpose, I would hit the arrow up. And it says with. But I don't want to save it with the transpose. I'm going to touch it up again. All right? So what I did is I just kind of went through I did a lengthy way of explaining how to save a preset. So here's the abbreviated version. The abbreviated version is, Reader's Digest version, is set up the organ the way you like it, and when you get a sound that you like, stop. Don't do anything else. Okay? You're going to press memorize A. Now, some of you have A, B, C, D, and E. Works the same way, but if you're just doing this for the first time, let's just stick with A for now, okay? Memorize a letter, A. Select the number that you want. And very important, don't forget, do you want to save that setup, that sound, with or without a style? Most of the time, because we're using rhythms and things, we'll use the with style. Okay? Memorize a number with or without style. And then there's one more thing, you have to confirm it, and then you press the memorize button. Okay? So I'm going to say it again. You're going to hear me say it a lot. By the time you get out of this class, you may end up having dreams about it. Memorize a letter, a number, with or without style. Memorize. Memorize a letter, number, with or without style. Memorize. Okay?
The last memorize seems to be the most important.
Yeah. Well, they're all kind of important, aren't they? But she's right. It is the most important, because if you do not press that button and you go touch something else, you just lost everything you did. Now, let's turn the camera back to over here. I'm still in that setting. I want to save the style. So memorize a letter. Memorize a letter. I picked the number, in this case 1. with the style. Okay, last step is memorize. Now watch what happens in the screen. It says, oh, went away. It said memorize to A1. Okay. On the touch screen here, when I hit memorize, it'll say the same thing. The message will say memorize to A1. So now that setting's on A1. Now if you go and you mess up the organ, you come back and push A1, that setting is there. If you turn off the organ and come back, the sound is there. Okay? Now, let's just for the heck of it, let's come up with a couple other sounds here. My camera view, zoom out there a little bit. Okay. So I have that setting there. Let me just poke around and let's see. So this is what we say. I might just do something and let's bring back the lower sound. Let's bring back the Orchestra Plus. Let's see what it sounds. I go, you know what? Okay. All that stuff I turned off, I turned back on. Now I'm going to put that on my second setup. Okay. What's the steps? Memorize a letter. Pick a number. Now what number am I going to do next, gang? She's giving me the peace symbol. All right, number 2. Yeah, let's go to, ideally, yes, you would just, now you can put it whatever number you want, but in this case, I'm just going to go to the next number, with or without style. So on the screen, it says no. I'm going to touch arrow down. On the touchscreen model, I'm going to do the same thing. I would do the same process. And then I confirm it by pushing memorize, and it says memorize to setup number 2. Okay? Now, let's do a couple more here. Let's see. Let me take that setup. You know what? I'm going to do something just simple as altar style. Oh, kind of got jazzed up a little bit. Ooh, I like that. Now I'm going to save it again. Memorize a letter, in this case A. I'm going to go to the next number, number 3. With or without style, I am saving the style. And then I'm going to confirm it by pressing memorize. It says save to number 3. Okay? And I'll do one more. Let's see. Now we'll just leave it at that. Because it's basically going to be the same steps over and over. Now, just for the heck of it, I'm going to very quickly come over here and take that same setup, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Memorize A, 2 with a style, memorize, alter style, memorize A, 3 with a style, memorize. Okay, so both models have the same setup. Now, Jeannie, you have a question? Go ahead and unmute yourself there. Is it not letting you unmute?
There, okay. Wait, okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
When you are saving, let's say you save one sound in your one setting and you don't save anything else. So so you have 2 through 8 then that you can still play. Do they play what was normally there before you started messing around?
Almost correct. They play what was there, what is there.
What
What
is it?
happened? Well, from the factory setting, what's there are 8 on the A on the A category, because you're saving them in the A bank. What's there is 8 Lowry organ sounds, 8 different organ combinations and sounds.
So, okay. So let's say you with the one you saved, let's say you want to go and save it in a country style or symphonic style. Will it play those styles then along with the one you saved?
Well, that'll be a separate preset. You can't save 2 styles at the same time.
Okay. But you have one style saved, just
Yep.
one.
Well, in
And
this case, what I did is I saved Smooth Foxtrot. I put a clarinet. I didn't just save the style. I saved it with a clarinet. I turned off the lower. I changed the Orchestra Plus. I did changes. Whatever I changed, and when I saved it, that's what I did. On the second setup, I kept the same rhythm, and I turned on the Orchestra Plus. I did, I made some slight changes to it, and then I saved it with that. On the third setup, I did the same thing. I put on Alter Style, okay? And I stopped. So preset 1, 2, and 3 all have the smooth foxtrot. They all have the clarinet, but they have also the changes that I made. Now, as an example, because I see where you're heading with this, and I'm going to continue further on this topic. So now what I'm going to do, because I saved the same setting, maybe I'll come over here and push piano, and I'll put, I'll just keep it to piano. Now, I still have the smooth foxtrot on. If I go and I save another preset, memorize A, number 4 with a style, so far I've saved the same style 4 times with 4 different settings, okay? But let's just say, okay, I ran out of ideas for that. I have 4 other setups that I can do. Maybe I want to do some country music. Okay, let's put on country. Country, let's see. There you go. You know what? I like that. Let me change it up a little bit. Let me put on, let's see, piano and a guitar. Oh, you know what? I like that. I'm going to stop right there. When you like it, what do? Stop. And I'm going to save it. So I'm going to go memorize A. Now I'm going to go to number 5, because that's what I did. I did one on 4, and I'm going to hit with style and memorize. So now I have on number 1, I have smooth foxtrot, smooth foxtrot, smooth foxtrot, smooth foxtrot. But there were some other changes. There was a clarinet, there was a saxophone, there was an alter style. Everything saved. What's on number 5?
Country.
The country. Now, I can leave that there. And let's say I go to Broadway. And I go, yeah, let's see here. Let's see. It says opener, New York swing. Let's try the opener here. And I'm just going to push some buttons here. Let's see. I like that. Maybe I don't want the harmony. I'm just pushing things. Oh, wait. I like that. Stop. Memorize A. I did one on 5. Let me save it on number 6. And with a style, and then memorize. Okay? Now, so right now, I have 4 setups saved with the smooth foxtrot. But you're not just saving a style, you're saving your sounds, you're saving your Orchestra Plus, your lower, anything that you have set up on the instrument that has to do with your sounds or the rhythm style is being saved. Okay? And I did that for the first 4 setups. On number 5, we saved a country rhythm with a piano and a guitar, I think. And then on number 6, I saved a Broadway with some strings. Okay? So you can save whatever you want in those presets, those setups. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. Sometimes what we do is I'll save 8 setups for just one song. That's very common. In fact, tomorrow I'm doing a class, a Song of the Month class, and a lot of the educators kind of do this already. I'm going to take one song, and I'm going to customize an arrangement, and I'm going to save them on the setups for one song. So you can save whatever you want on these setups. What do you save and why you're doing it is entirely up to you. We may have some people that sometimes they'll have their own little personal concert, and they'll say, you know what? For my first song, I'm going to play a Broadway. My second one, I'm going to do a country. The third one, I'm going to do a big band, and they'll save one preset for each of those, so that way they don't have to go hunting for the buttons. So you can save it however you want. It's entirely up to you. Okay? Now here's the trick. It's not really a trick, but some people know this, some people don't. There are 8 setups here, and on the Inspire and the Rialto and the other flagship models, there are 10. What happens after you save 8 or 10 presets? Then what do you do?
Erase them.
Well, no. Why would you want to do that, right? That's what most people think. No, we don't want to erase them. Now, some of the models, the smaller models, older models, that's all you had to work with. On the Journey and the Fanfare, Joni will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 20 or 25. You can save on the Fanfare or the Journey 8 setups 20 times.
That's nice.
Okay? So if you ever get to the 8 setups that you really like, and you go, okay, I think I'm going to start over, but you don't want to start over and lose what you have. You can save those in what's called, you can save it as a bank category, okay? And you can save it as a group. So you have 20 groups, okay? Now on the Inspire and the Rialtos and all of the touchscreen models, you have 10 buttons. You can't save 20 groups on the organ. Oh my, what do I do? Well, you save them on your USB.
Okay.
You ever see me walking around? A lot of people thought I had this not so pretty necklace. Actually, if you rub it, a genie will come out and grant you wishes. And he'll get you any Lowry organ you want. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, if you have a USB, a special magic one, you rub it, I'll pop out and I'll say, what Lowry organ would you? Okay, I got to get back to teaching here. So basically the concept is the same, only instead of storing on the instrument, you store it on your USB, okay? And that can be infinite. So for the Fanfare and the Journey, you're not restricted to just the 8, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 quick examples of how to save a group of presets, of setups on the instrument, and then I'm going to also show it over here on the Inspire Rialto for the folks with the touchscreen, okay? And here's what I'm going to encourage you to do, because we won't be able to answer all the questions, the if, ands, and buts in this session. This is definitely a session that's worth setting up a time to meet with a personal assistant to do, because over time, when people learn how to save setups on the instruments, once they get the hang of it, they do it all the time. And I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting at an organ and I'm just experimenting for fun and I'm playing along and all of a sudden I run into something, I go, ooh, that's great, and I save it. Or I'll have a student come in sometimes on an organ like a Prestige or a Symphony or with a touchscreen, and they'll say, can you give me some good setups for this? And I start working on it, and the more I work on it, the more I like it, and I go, you know what? I think I'm going to save these myself. It happens, okay? So I'm not going to save up to 8, but just remember, you can save up to 8, you can save up to 4, you can do whatever you want. But now what we're going to do is take whatever is here, and we're going to store it on the instrument, okay? So let me switch cameras so you can see. Let me get a little closer. As close as I can. All right. So I saved some setups on the instrument. And I'm to the point where I want to start over. Or some people may want the factory settings back. But if you reset the organ right now, we're going to lose everything. So we don't want to do that. So here's what we do. 2 different steps, guys. So if you have an Inspire Rialto touchscreen model, wait till I get to the other instrument. They're going to be similar in what it does, but just hang tight for a second, okay? So on the Fanfare and the Journey, there's a button here that says Bank Storage. Okay? I'm going to touch it. Now, can you see what showed up on the screen? It says load. It always defaults to the word load. Now, we don't want to load any setups. What do we want to do? We want to save our setups, don't we? Yes? So what I do is I scroll till I see the word save. It says rename, delete, save. There we go. Now, essentially, conceptually, this concept is going to be the same on the bigger organs. We want to save, all right? But we'll get to that. So once I see the word save, I hit the word select. Now, if you could see that, it says bank storage, save, select a file, all right? Now, earlier I said how many groups can we save on here? 20, I believe. So I can save a group of presets. And you'll see that it says blank. The reason why that says set up group 1 is because I did one earlier just to experiment with it. You want to find one that says blank. You can save it anywhere you want. Up to, let's see, 20. Okay. So I'm going to go to number 2. See where it says blank? Now when I hit select, let's see what happens. Ooh, it defaulted. It automatically defaulted. It says set up group 2. Now, at this point, if I hit select, it's going to save it as set up group 2. Okay? Now watch. Saving. Saved. You see? Now let me do that again. I'm going to hit bank storage. I'm going to scroll to the word save. I'm going to hit select. I'm on setup group 1. No. Setup group 2. I find a blank spot. See where it says blank? I'm going to hit select. Now watch what happens. It defaults to setup group 3. Now, what if you have some setups that are designed for a specific song or genre or whatever you want? You can actually name it here. Okay? Now, Inspire Rialto people, don't go far because I'm going to do this step and it's going to be it's going to be a little different, okay? Now, to name it, this one is a little tricky. This is where you want your owner's manual. All right? Now, I'm going to pull up the Journey owner's manual. Let's see. And I believe, okay. You see the keyboard there? That is the lower keyboard. All right. Oh boy, that's a bad line. Hopefully it makes it better in a minute. Boop. Oh, look at that. Okay. Now, once upon a time, there used to be what they call an overlay, which we can't find anymore. But if you have your owner's manual handy, when you're to this point and you want to title the presets, this lower keyboard, at this point, this step, you have letters and numbers. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that screen share off for a second. And I'm going to pull it up so I can see it when I'm doing it. So you can see that right there now, set up group 3. I can't see you guys, so.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now I'm looking at my manual, my computer here, and I'm going to call this class. So on the keyboard here, let me see how much of the screen you see here. Let me back up here. Okay. So on the keyboard here, where did it go? Page 19. Sorry, folks. Let me get it up so I can see this. Okay. So on this keyboard here, I'm looking at the owner's manual at the same time. This letter right here is A, B, C. So if I type in the letter C, and I can do uppercase. Now, when you're doing this part here, I would encourage you to turn off your lower sound. Otherwise, you're going to hear this. C, let's see, C, L is over here. You see that? So I would turn that off. And then this here becomes a kind of the letter. So I'm going to hold the shift key down, and there's the letter C. Okay. And then, how do I advance over? There is a space bar, I believe. There's a space bar on here somewhere. Give me a second, folks. I might hit the wrong one, but oops, that's Z. Turning you off. Trying to look at the manual at the same time. There's a space bar in here, and if I can't, you have to look in your manual to find it. But essentially, what can happen, let me look on the manual here so I give right instructions. I think it's this one. Oh, there it is. So I type in the letter C. Here, holding this down. Here's C. This arrow left and right. So I'm going to go to the next letter, and then I go to L. Okay, A, oops, L. Then I arrow over A, arrow over, and then I find the letter S. Arrow over S. Whoops. So it says class group 3. All right. And then once I'm done, I hit select, and then it says preset saving. Okay. Now, let me get a little closer here, back in here. So you see it says saved class group 3. Now, if I turn off the organ, or if I do a reset, let me turn off the organ, and I'm going to reset these settings to the factory. Farewell. Thank you. All right, let me put it back to the factory. All right, so it says total reset. Let me put the volume back. All right, so if I push A1, the sound we had there is gone. All the sounds are gone. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my goodness, what do I do, Joni? Help me. Only Joni knows the answer to this.
Go to your bank storage.
Oh, thank goodness. I forgot all about that. All right, so all I'm going to do is go to bank storage.
Group 3.
Now, you'll see, now this time, we don't want to save, we want to load, because we saved the presets from here to the organ. So I'm going to hit load, and then it says set up. It always defaults to the first one. We want to go to the group that we renamed, and there it is, class group 3. I hit select, loaded. Let's push A1, and let's see what we got. 2. See the different sound? Now number 5, I think we had a country, right? Here we go. 6, we had Broadway. So you can reset the instrument, lose the presets, get them back to factory, but you can always bring them back. Okay? Now, let's move over here. Ooh. I think that's as close as I can get. Can you see that there? Is that visible well enough? Okay. So on touchscreen people, you're going to do the same concept. All right. And I have some setups in here. It doesn't matter. This part doesn't matter what I have in here. Just as long as the steps, you understand the steps. So conceptually, you're doing the same thing, but procedurally, it's a little bit different. because we don't save them on we save the presets here, but we don't save them in groups on the organ. We save them on the USB, all right? So the first step is once you're ready to save presets, a group of presets. Now a group of presets is defined as if you have A bank, 1 through 10, some organs have an A and a B, some have A, B, C, some have A, B, C, D, E, etc. You're saving that entire group. Now, a lot of people think they need to save a preset on every single letter, every single number before they save it. You can do that, but it's not always necessary. I've got tons of presets saved on my USB stick that I have no idea when I load one in, I have no idea what I'm going to get if I have the C bank. It just was whatever was there, okay? So I'm going to put USB. Now on the screen, you'll see some options. I hope you can see that. It says load, save, rename, delete, etc., etc. I'm going to save the presets from the organ to the USB. So the option I'm going to select is save. And it says accessing USB. Now this is my personal USB, so you'll see there's a lot of things on here. Now you can theoretically save over one of those, but I would be very when you get to this part, I would always make sure you find an available spot, okay? So I'm going to scroll through a lot because I have quite a bit on mine. You'll see I got stuff there. You all see that there? I'm going to keep going. Now, theoretically, see number 47 there? It's blank, isn't it? Okay, I could put it there. Let me just keep going. So you see, once I get to the 50s, there's nothing there. All right, so I'll just go to 51. I'm going to touch it. Like the Journey and the Fanfare, it defaults to a title. In this case, setup group 51 is because that's the number I picked. Now, I can hit save, and it'll save it that way. But I'll tell you what, 3 months from now, I'll go, what in the heck was setup group 51? So I like titling it. Now, to title it on the screen here, don't think too much like a typewriter. There's only one organ that actually works like a typewriter. All right? Think in terms of you're going to push buttons here. So a typewriter, when you're typing, what happens when you use the space bar? It advances over, right? Well, on here, the space bar creates a space. Watch. See how it went blank? It created a space. So just keep that in mind with this word space. But what I'm going to do is title it the same way. I'm going to touch uppercase, and then I'm going to scroll to the letter C. I want to advance over to the next letter, so I'm going to hit the arrow. And there's an E, so I'm going to put lowercase l. Now here's a little trick. I'm going to arrow over to the next one. Now the next letter I need is what? A, correct? If I want to spell the word class. Well, there's a letter T there. I can scroll all the way to the letter A. What I like to do is hit space and then arrow up one, and it brings me right to the A. Now, if you don't do that and you just arrow, you'll get there eventually. Class, let's see. Move arrow over, class. Move the arrow over, class. Class group 51. All right. Now the last thing I need to do, can anybody guess if you can see it on the screen, which button I'm going to push? Can you see what it says down there? If you can't, on the bottom right, it says save. You have a question, Sue? Okay, I don't know if you can see it, but in this step, on the bottom right, it'll say cancel, and then it says save. Now, sometimes I like to have a little pencil with an eraser because my finger may not get it. Oh, I got it. Setup saved. Okay. Now, if I clear the organ back and I want to save those setup or recall those setups, you go to USB. This part is very similar as far as the concept. In this case, I'm going to load setups. and I'm going to find group 51. There it is, and I'm going to touch it. Now, for you touchscreen people, you know, these touchscreens, they sometimes, I like to blame the touchscreen, not my fingers. You know, I just touch it. Just make sure you see what you're trying to select. Sometimes I don't hit it just right, and I pick the wrong one. And then I hit all. I'm loading all setups, load all setups. And then I touch A1. And then I should have the same setups that I saved earlier. Something was there on number 4 at the time. Okay? Now, I think that this is very important because we, as we're teaching these classes, a lot of the instructors are talking about saving presets on the instrument. You've heard us say it. If you ever find something you like, save it on a preset. That's kind of why I wanted to go through this. It may feel a little awkward at first sometimes for some people, but you do it once or twice, the procedure is the same all the time. Here's the other thing. When you learn how to load setups, save setups, there's other ways of getting. Sometimes we give setups that are already made, tailor-made for you. All you have to do is load the setups. In what I just said or all of the above, depending on the model, you're going to get more out of the instrument. Now, so for example, tomorrow I am teaching a class that I'm going to start doing. I came up with the fancy title, Song of the Month. It took me months and months and months to dream up that fancy title. And as an example, let me pull up a song here. And let's see, how about, okay. Okay, so let me put up, I've shown this, screen shared this a few times, and then some people will ask, what does those letters mean and what have you? Well, so here is a songbook that I commonly refer to because it's already been done. It's something I've had from years ago. So if you notice here, in Bésame Mucho, you see, can you see that? It says A1, 3, 4, okay? So a lot of times what will happen, and what I'm going to do in the Song of the Month is I'm going to create some custom arrangements, and I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. So some people like to go back to the organ, do all of that, and then save those presets on the organ. Now, in some cases, whoops, like tomorrow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if you have a US, I'm going to actually have a typed out handout, and then I'm also going to show you how you can get the presets if you have a USB. Okay? So, as an example, my USB is in here, and I'm going to USB, load setups, and I actually have a bunch of presets in here. Let's see here. Let's see if I could find the one that I want. Oh, here's Bésame ABC. Okay, and I hit all. So then those presets are on the organ now, and then I would use the music, and then I would just follow the numbers in the song. So for some of you, if you attend the class tomorrow, I'm not going to only give you a handout and tell you where's a good place to play that on the song, but I'm also going to give you the option of acquiring those setups. Now, if you come to the class tomorrow, pay very close attention because tomorrow after the class, we're going to show you how you can download and put them on your computer and then onto your USB. Okay? So, it'll be worth it. And then you'll have the video, go back and watch it over and over. All right? So, before I close off today, I'm going to play a little song for you. there any questions whatsoever? No? All right. Couple quick announcements for you, and I'll close off with a song. Let's see here. The first thing I want to tell you is, let's see, this Friday, by the way, we are going to have a very special event. Let me pull it up here. Where did it go? Is this the right one? No. I don't know what you see on your screen there. Let me close this off here. Okay. All right. So this Friday we have a very special event because Mr. Jerome Johnson, where is it? There it is. Can you see Jerome there in the picture?
Yes.
Okay. He is going to do a very special concert event, and it's going to be an evening event. We want you to pull out a glass of wine and sit back and enjoy, or sparkling water, or whatever it is that you drink. And it's not going to be evening in Arizona, so if you're from Arizona, dim the lights and pretend it's evening. And he's going to take a stroll down memory lane. He's going to perform music that inspired him over the years. Obviously, there'll be music that you will love as well. And rumor has it he may sing a few songs too, as he always does. And so that's happening on Friday. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, is a Song of the Month. I'm going to create a custom arrangement. So today's class was really good because you're going to want to be able to save some of this if you're taking really good notes and you're creating. I'm going to show you what I'm using, the features I'm using. So sometimes I'll use a special feature. So it's not just about creating the arrangements. I'm going to show you my idea of an arrangement for a song and what sort of things that I'm doing. And then it says here presets and recording included for most models. And that's going to be available on our Patreon. So I know a lot of you are Patreon members. And then what we're going to do in the same class is we're going to go to the Patreon site, and I'm going to show you, Sean and I are going to show you how to download those setups and then inevitably get them onto your USB. This is the part that a lot of students have had a little trouble with, some easier than others. And what's great about our Patreon site too, by the way, if you ever want to find something on here, this little search post, if you go to patreon.com/Fletcher Music Centers, and you can search or post, like I did one for Ave Maria once. Let's see if it comes. And it'll search. Oh, who put that funny picture there? And you'll see it has the setups for SU, A series, E series, etc. And then we're going to show you how to download those and then get them onto your instrument. So there's more advantages to the Patreon site than just recorded classes and some bonus content, etc., etc. So anyway, we hope you enjoyed the class today. Did you learn something today? At least one thing? All right. Now, this particular class, it will be available on YouTube, but not for about 3 or 4 days. Just heads up, it'll probably be Saturday because I've already got some lined up. And it will be available on Patreon on Saturday, okay? Because I have already a bunch in queue, and I don't want to dump a bunch of videos all at once or what have you, okay? So just keep that in mind. After Saturday, if you want some review, it'll be available. And on the Patreon site, I am going to make it public for this particular class so everyone can see it. So you'll have one of two ways to access that, okay? In the meantime, between now and Saturday, if you have any questions, reach out to your personal assistants and set up a time. I would encourage sitting down at the instrument and trying it a few times. Keep a notepad. And that way, if something stumps you, that's a perfect time to call up your personal assistant and say, I need some help, okay? So with that said, I'm going to end with a number here, and I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking I have a arrangement that I always play of the song, but this morning I was going through my USB and I forgot I actually put an alternate arrangement of it a long time ago, and I didn't play it much, so hopefully it still sounds good. So usually I do Besame Mucho with a certain arrangement, but I had an alternate arrangement that I ran across by accident. I forgot all about it. And so I'm going to play that for you today. And I may or may not feature this tomorrow, but I may do this tomorrow. So, and I'm going to go over, give you both arrangements. But anyway, I'll finish off a little number for you. So here we go. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's class and hope you got something out of it today. And I strongly encourage you to come to the class tomorrow because I'm only doing it once a month. And I've got a really great arrangement or two options, three options, actually four different. I have to pick one to do, and I'm going to make sure it's worth your time. So thank you so much, and keep playing music, stay safe, and mwah!